Here we go.
You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker. What do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
So Kenny Moore II back today. By the way, promoing myself right before I come on the show is a brilliant idea right there. That's well done. From yesterday at Behringer's Tavern, which was outstanding, and a shout out to Rob and everybody over there. That was a great time. In studio this lone Wednesday, and then back on the road tomorrow and Friday, of which we shall explain and probably should all celebrate, because that's exactly the types of days that we need. On the road, Joe's Grill tomorrow, Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots Week 7, and then on the road coming up on Friday, Ale Emporium in Castleton, Bud Light Blue Friday, Titans Colts tickets to give away. I was going to mention Kenny Moore II back at practice today. Charvarius Ward concussion protocol. Nothing. That doesn't sound good. Second time this season that's happened. That doesn't sound good either. Brett Rippon. This may be the only time I bring that up because, as they said famously in Meatballs, it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Seriously, you can look around the landscape of the NFL, and in large part, it is notoriously the same. But we had that thinking back during the Manning era, and there's nothing wrong with it. Good dudes back up Peyton Manning, but Daniel Jones goes out, and there's going to be a large level of everything is screwed up offensively, because you've seen how good he has been with this offense this season. It just won't be the same no matter what we're talking about. So I think having a debate on whether or not one guy is better than the other, and Riley Leonard this, and Brett Rippon that, and why not somebody else that is better, yeah, you can go fumble about with that conversation, that dialogue someplace else, because it just doesn't matter. Kenny Moore II, however, does. The secondary trying to put something together here that is workable. The Chargers, at least wide receiver-wise, they're healthy. They have guys that you know that are name recognizable. One coming back, matter of fact. And then they have a capable quarterback. Now, where they're going to struggle is at both tackles with done-for-the-season dudes. That is incredibly problematic. And the other thing that is going to be, and this may really, to me, we'll do Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots coming up tomorrow. Jason Logan of Covers.com at the bottom of the hour. But what may dictate the terms on my selection of this game is Jonathan Taylor. So I will ask you this, and this was my thought a little bit earlier today. My thought was, how can I sit here and proclaim Jonathan Taylor as an MVP candidate, as MVP of this team, and then not think this dude is going to have his way with an incredibly bad, so far this season, rushing defense? If Shane Steichen is coming up on Sunday, who he has been this season, the same can be said for the quarterback, Daniel Jones, and that of Jonathan Taylor is the only thing that is bound to get in the way when they run the football coming up on Sunday is the goal line. That was an old Fred Taylor line against the Colts defense, if you remember from years ago, I should say, in the Jacksonville Colts matchups. But is that the only thing that's going to get in the way? So as much as I would angle most of the time toward the home team, I would also keep in mind you've got a couple of injuries in important positions along that offensive line, done for the season, guys. So maybe that does amplify the Colts in a category in which they weren't good last week, where they absolutely need to be better. And let's just face it, something needs to be done about it to address it, because it looks like you may have some possibilities out there. I mean, everybody's worried about the backup quarterback. The hell about that. Worry about somebody being able to just add a little bit, another layer of get after in terms of the quarterback. How did Rick Venturi describe that yesterday? I forget. He was right. Something wave. But it's how I explained it on Monday, because you look at the stats and you go, well, they were back there 50% of the time, and Jacoby Brissett was going underneath. But it was all more window dressing than it was anything else. It was nothing that was really game wrecking. And you need that. You need that up front because you don't have that in the rear. And you need that in the rear because you don't have that up front. That sounds really weird and awkward the way I just described it, but damned if it's not true. Something has to be found, and it's not just something to where, hey, everybody's healthy again and everything's going to be okay. That's why I've been of the suggestive nature that this team, much like they have in the offseason, much like we've looked at going through the offseason into camp, this is not a same territorial team in terms of decision-making, thank goodness, that we have seen in the first 8 years for the most part here. We have complained about for the first 8 years. We were sick of. I was ready to go ahead and get rid of everybody. Yeah, the thought process, it took a while, but the thought process has changed. So why not continue that change? Actually, I think you're going to have to. The other aspect of this is as the schedule stiffens up, you're going to get better teams, better offenses, better quarterbacks. In the time of year when it really matters, I'm not suggesting that the first 6 weeks of the season didn't matter, because you're 5-1 and clearly you have kind of etched your logo into the sand in the AFC, and that's great. It's sure as hell better than getting off to a crappy start, as we have witnessed over the past more than a handful of years. We all understand that. We know how that looks, and this is not it. So you take the looks of this, and you obviously analyze what is not going right, because there are a lot of things that are going right. You can celebrate that for the moment and then move on, but you also have to make good on what you've accomplished so far by addressing those needs. And whether it is up front, listen, when everybody says, hey, Max Crosby, we all know that's not going to happen. That's the THC talk. There's no way that's happening. But there are some other dudes out there that can help the cause. Right now, you're just looking for bodies to help the cause, to push it a little bit, to be better. Not be a complete and utter, we're losing 48 hours of sleep prior to that game because this guy is an absolute terror. Closing in on Halloween, this is like a horror film. Yeah, the horror film has been you for so many years since Robert Mathis. You've been chasing this whole carrot of trying to find that so-called game wrecker, that influential edge rusher, and it hasn't been there. Leatu Latu has made some plays this year, but you need him to be there and make plays when it truly matters, and that is pressing the issue and decision-making on the quarterback. Being influential on that quarterback situation, that's what you need. It's great when you drop back into coverage and get a pick. Woo! That's what you have to have, because the secondary needs it right now. And who knows if this secondary may continue to need it. And the way that you look at it, and maybe the dynamic changes, maybe all of a sudden there's more of an influence of guys that have availability in the secondary. But I would much rather you try to track down those that have more of an influence right here and right now that seem to be available up front, whether it's Phillips or Chubb or Thibodeau Those are just three names. Who knows if anybody has any interest? Who knows if the Colts have any interest? But you should have interest, and they should have interest, because to me, that dynamic matters a whole lot more than who the hell flies in here to get ready to be the backup quarterback. I got news for you. If Daniel Jones gets injured, the whole thing, and I can't say it because Todd told me not to say it a little bit earlier, is blanked. I know I sound like Gene Rayburn from the old match game. It's blanked. That is commonplace. It is routine around the NFL at that position. We know that to be true. But this whole massive debate on who's playing, well, this guy did that, and this guy knows him, and they brought him in because they don't want, who cares? Who cares? Doesn't matter. Well, yeah, what matters is that Daniel Jones maintains health. That's the other thing. Like, when people ask me this all the time, do you go for it right now? Or, are you still building for the future? Again, another Rick Venturi from yesterday. If you missed that conversation, it was the entirety of the 4 o'clock hour. You got to double back and hear it. It's a podcast at 1075thefan.com. You are always, or at least you always should be, in win now mode. Unless you're just a loser. Is that easy enough said? Would you not quit? Well, you're in pay now mode. I mean, you're paying. You're going. You're in pay now. They don't say, well, you know what? We're not winning now. Maybe a little bit later. Well, we're playing for the future. So, yeah, go ahead and pay in the future. Come on now. You're always in win now mode. And especially, as I mentioned earlier, more magnified this year because of the great start. Who knows if you get matched up with the upper echelon of teams in the AFC? The problem is right now the Colts are amongst those in the upper echelon of the AFC. Until further notice, it's the way that it is. That's what they have put together. That's your resume. And until you see them matched up with the Chiefs or the Bills, or I guess you can throw the Steelers in that category, and you'll see a little bit of something for the Chargers. The great part about it being in L.A. this weekend is you can take full advantage of a Charger team that, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, is entirely dinged up. And so much of what they cannot do plays a significant role in what this team does incredibly well. Jonathan Taylor. Can you look up, and this may be something for what's his nuts coming on here at the bottom of the hour, Jason Logan. I won't reference him as what's his nuts. I will remember his name. Jason Logan, covers.com. Can you look at what's the over-under on prediction-wise Jonathan Taylor rushing yards on Sunday? When you put the dynamic together with this Charger defense that struggles in that capacity, and clearly, if not one of the, certainly to me, the best we have seen so far. Seems like that number should be rather large. Maybe I should leave it up to what's his nuts coming up here at the bottom of the hour, Jason Logan. James, when you find that number, you let me know, because I think this is such a great opportunity. And really, you think about this opportunity. This opportunity comes off of just getting by a Cardinals team that you were better than, but you weren't having, in some certain aspects, your best day, but you still managed to do what needed to be done. We don't always reflect glowingly on those games over the course of a successful season, but those games are important. Those are the ones where things aren't quite going the way that you wanted or as well as you wanted, but you still are able to squeeze out a win. Man, does anything describe this past Sunday against Arizona more than that? Incredibly true. Jason Logan of Covers.com at the bottom of the hour. Those that did participate, including Kenny Moore II, and believe me, that is important to have him back there too. That worries me about Mooney. Concerned about Mooney. I do. I think this Colts team, I think you recognize that, and you go out and try to do something about that. with the shortcomings. And again, they're glaring. And Rick brought that up in full, in tremendous detail yesterday. The needs are glaring. I think they are now in the position to where the old train of thought around here is just that, the old train of thought. Crumple up that blueprint of the past and go with where you are right now. You don't know what the moment's going to be like next year, too. Well, you know what? We want to be good. Yeah, hell yeah, you want to be a really strong organization. But being a really strong organization, you got to start with a really strong season. Here it is. Springboard. James, you're shaking your head over there like you have no answer for a damn thing. Is that true?
I am not finding any sort of over-under right now for his rushing yards. I'm seeing websites that would apparently have the information, but none of the information is posted.
That's why we have What's-His-Nuts on at the bottom of the hour. He's supposed to be able to tell us that, right? Covers.com, Jason Logan. From the Great White North. Where's he from? Quebec? Is that where he is? I wonder what the temperature is where he lives.
It's somewhere up there.
Somewhere up there. The geographical influence of James Adams behind the board. Somewhere up there.
Vaguely northward.
Yes. Jason Logan, bottom of the hour. Bowen's going to be here, as I mentioned, too. Guys that are back, guys that were missing a little bit earlier today in preparation for the Chargers coming up on Sunday. Okay, Ben Shepherd was back with the Pacers at practice. Pacer preseason continues. Yeah, I did watch a little bit of Brooks Barnheiser. I'm watching Brooks Barnheiser. Try to cobble out a little space for himself as a rookie in what is a very chock full of talent, as we witnessed a year ago, and it continues to go, Oklahoma City Thunder team. I would advise this, and I know that there are a lot of Pacer fans that kind of got wound up in social media. So there's been this back and forth. It's been well documented around here. Those that cover the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, who is out for the season, the Achilles injury, know all about that. Has been trolling, I guess. I don't know if he would call it trolling. It is kind of more like he's being the heel. It's like a wrestling thing, WWE thing, taking shots at Milwaukee. Rocking a Cubs uniform. I think, was that the day or the day leading into decisive Game 5 against the Cubs for the Brewers, and then rocking a Dodger jersey as well? The stuff is pretty funny. Now, I know how you guys would act if, Miles and you guys would be all over him. You're going to be all over him anywhere. That's probably a bad choice of reference, but you'd be all over him anyway. But here's what happens. Like, the Milwaukee fans have responded with, hey, I hope you have a setback in your rehab. And I know Pacer fans are losing it. Don't lose it over that stuff. You know this to be true. Clowns are going to be clowns wherever you go. And many of you out there would suggest there are really no good clowns like it. But if there are good clowns, the only good clowns you'll find would be under the big top in the circus tent. And you're sure as hell not going to find any of them via social media. So I would certainly just move on down the road with that. Not worry about it. Everybody calling for a setback. It is rehab. He absolutely, to me, he looks about as focused as any dude. I can't imagine the monotony of, I can't follow any doctor's orders. I can't imagine going through the monotony of that. Now, there's a Netflix documentary. I don't know if it's a documentary. It's a series, a Netflix series. And I saw what Reggie Miller had to say about Tyrese Halliburton in what he did going into the finals and then playing in Game 7, and that Achilles compromise that compromised his season this year. And I don't know if you've seen that quote, but it is awesome. And it's basically what every Pacer fan would say or should say regarding Tyrese Halliburton and how meaningful it was. Just not in that case going at it that way, that hard for yourself, but doing it for Indy, Pacer fans, everybody around you. Reggie Miller, it's one thing when I say it on the radio and you go, yeah, well, this loudmouth, he's full of hot air, he's saying that again. But it hits differently when the legacy of the organization, of the Pacer logo, says it. If you haven't seen or heard that quote, it is outstanding. And what was also interesting about it is you could see Tyrese Halliburton getting a little emotional about it. That was really cool. That's real stuff. Not this other junk. That's real. And especially for those of us around here. And you could tell how differently that did make contact with Halliburton because of what Reggie Miller had to say about it. Because you could see, you go down the stretch into the finals, Reggie Miller, there was nobody who enjoyed that run. I mean, hell, even when he was doing the TNT games, right? Nobody enjoyed that run as much as Reggie Miller. That part is pretty cool. Did you happen to see the quote last night that our good friend Noah Eagle had on Brooks Barnheiser and his hair? His hair is not just lettuce, it is a Caesar salad. That's outstanding. Shout out to Noah. Trying to work with Iron Eagle. We're expecting Iron Eagle at least either tomorrow or Friday, one of the 2 days. Hopefully so. Again, road shows coming up tomorrow and Friday. Let's take a break and we'll come back. Jason Logan will track down, hopefully, some of that information regarding the lines going into this weekend. We'll get you set for our Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots. 4 o'clock hour tomorrow at Joe's Grill in Westfield with Brent Halverson. Jason Logan of Covers.com on the other side. Kevin Bowen's going to join us in the 4 o'clock hour. And IU fans, I'm not going to leave you out either. Of IU football and their head coach, Curt Cignetti, our good friend that covers really everything and especially magnified the college game, whether it's football or basketball. Dan Wetzel will discuss everything, basically, with this IU football season so far, the tenure of Curt Cignetti, and what everybody is throwing darts at a dartboard and trying to guess about regarding his future. Dan Wetzel coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Other than that, 239-1070. Jump on board. The text line is open, 317-239-1070. I'll read your stuff at JMV 1070. That's where you can find the Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day. Get your horse. You could win 50 in betting, 50 in dining from Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. That is your Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day. Otherwise, the stream, the app, the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Shout out to Sir Paul McCartney. If you haven't seen the video, waving at my 15-year-old daughter, Lainey, in the lobby of a Des Moines hotel last night was awesome. Evidently, 2 hours and 30 minutes for an 83-year-old former Beatle, Sir Paul McCartney, at whatever the hell that place is called in Des Moines, the Hy-Vee Casey's General Store Arena. But awesome. If you didn't see that video, you can check it out on my Facebook page. I put it on X as well. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Become a AAA member today. You're going to thank me later. Have your back 24/7, 365. Anywhere you go on the open road. Otherwise, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Back with you next.
Hey, David, I'm Grandpa.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I wanted to remind you, Michelle sent me this via Facebook. Avon High School Robotics. Because, I got introduced to pickleball almost a month ago now at Pickle on Pin with Steve and Kelly, by the way, having a tremendous Halloween party, I think on October the 23rd. I'm a big fan of a Halloween party. But Avon High School Robotics, and we should have had you come back with Mr. Roboto. What was I thinking? Pickleball tournament November the 15th at the Avon High School Fieldhouse. I promised Michelle that I would talk this up. November the 15th, Avon High School Fieldhouse. Avon High School Robotics Pickleball Tournament. Now, you can find out more. I mean, hell, you can ask me. I'll share the info with you. Pickleball. I'm on board with it. I don't mind it. I would do it again. And as I mentioned, Pickle on Pin, awesome place. The text line as follows, 317-239-1070. JMV, Mike in Brooklyn. Ballard has been planning for the future for a decade, and looking back, it's been pretty mediocre. So our approach this particular year as fans should be similar to what Travolta told his boss in the paint store in Saturday Night Fever about the future. The future is now. And remember, Monero got a raise when he approached his boss in the paint store wanting a raise. True that. One of the greatest intros of all time is Travolta walking with the paint can to Staying Alive by the Bee Gees in the film Saturday Night Fever. That's well done. Well done, Mike in Brooklyn. To the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Covers.com, somewhere in Canada. Jason Logan is holed up going through the numbers this week, including the Colts and the Chargers and that and more. Hello, Jason. How are you?
How's it going? Yeah, I'm in my little backwoods cabin here in Canada, living off the land and betting on NFL games.
You're like Grizzly Adams, if Grizzly Adams were a cross with Jimmy the Greek in the 1970s right there. That's you.
Yeah, Grizzly the Greek.
So, and by the way, what's the weather like where you are in Canada?
Gorgeous. Beautiful fall.
Nice.
October is one of the best months here in Ontario. And just trying to eat up all the sunshine I can get before winter shows up.
Yeah, I mean you won't see it again until June. Well done. Yeah.
And then yep.
How have the Colts been treating you this season?
How the Colts? It's funny because the AFC South has kind of always been a tough division for me to figure out, and it seems every time I do bet on or bet against an AFC South team, they seem to swerve the other way. But the Colts have been pretty good, and I'm back on them this week. I took them in my NFL underdogs column at Covers.com, plus 1.5. Taking on the Chargers here. I like the way that this offense sets up against a Los Angeles defense that is having trouble with the run.
Do you have an over-under number? I asked this of my producer, James, a moment ago on Jonathan Taylor and his predicted rushing yards. The reason why I bring that up is because the Chargers defensively against the run aren't any good, and you're going to be dealing with, if not the best, one of the best in the NFL coming up on Sunday. Is there an over-under in particular there for Taylor going into the weekend?
Yeah, I was seeing some places had them pretty high. It's the prop markets are all starting to kind of trickle out now. Some places do have them available, some don't. I was looking at a lot of his running, like some of his projections, and they might seem a little bit lower than what you expect for this game. I had them, his rushing yards right now kind of hovering just below 80. But
really,
the market, obviously, a lot of these things are baked in to the market, and it is tough to kind of get an edge when they see that the Chargers have allowed 145 yards, average yards on the ground to the last four opponents. And I'm looking at some of the early markets where had his. I mean, I don't know if I can really some of these odds. Some of them are calling for close to 97 yards on the ground. I I'm going to wait and see what the actual sportsbook markets
Let's just say, for example,
so.
it is hovering in the neighborhood in which you just described. That seems like an absolute slam dunk to me. Does it to you? Or because it seems so easy, does that keep you in a realm of skepticism about it?
I'm always going to give the odds makers the benefit of the doubt. And, if LA is going to stop the Colts, they do have to key in on the run, and that might be the one thing that they do is just say, okay, we're not going to let Jonathan Taylor beat us, and they're just going to stack the box and put all of the weight on Daniel Jones to move the football through the air. So, that could be the thing too. Yeah, I'm not seeing any odds out just yet for Taylor. But I think, he's going to be a very, very popular overbet considering what he did last week. And then like I said, the way he matches up against his LA team.
Do you have any 6-week odds on NFL MVP, Jason, that you're aware of yet?
Yeah, I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes is at the top of the board right now. But we've seen the for quite a bit over the last few weeks. Mahomes has jumped up to the top of the board. He's plus 190. Josh Allen plus 300. And then Baker Mayfield has been the guy. 2 weeks ago on our podcast, Sharp 600, we were kind of picking out futures odds. And I said, Baker Mayfield at plus 2,000 is a guy to watch out for. This is a guy who's won. He's really easy to root for. Likeable guy. He has a great fan base. But also, too, I mean, look at the weapons that he's had around him, I guess, until this past week. A lot of weapons. He wills this team to win. You see him grind out those third down runs, scrambling for the first down. But also, too, if you look at the back half of the schedule for Tampa Bay, they play some pretty soft defenses. So I think that he's going to be able to get his stats up around MVP numbers towards the back half of the season, especially when he gets Evans and Godwin and Mbuka comes back from that hamstring injury. They get Bucky Irving back. This is going to be a team that's going to be very, very dangerous. We're seeing this Todd Bowles defense that has been fantastic against the run. That pass rush is starting to go again. They love to bring a lot of blitz, love to cause a lot of chaos. Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield, definitely a team to watch out down the stretch, and that's why he's plus 350 right now. That's the third overall choice.
He is Jason Logan, Covers.com, kind enough to join us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So you mentioned, obviously, quarterback in the MVP race right here. To me, the most valuable on the Colts is Jonathan Taylor. But are we just in a position right now where most of the time any nod for MVP is going to be given to the signal caller? And I know that's the realm we've lived in. How much of an impact would Taylor have to make to, in turn, have an impact on the MVP numbers moving forward here?
He would just have to shatter records. We're talking like Adrian Peterson numbers because that's the last running back to really get it done. He is the favorite right now to win Offensive Player of the Year. It's plus 160. Ahead of Bijan Robinson, who's plus 350. So, I mean, it's not like I don't think he's going to walk away empty-handed this season, but those MVP odds generally do lean to quarterbacks. He's plus 10,000 to win MVP right now. So, while he is the favorite to win Offensive Player of the Year, rarely do we see a running back get in that MVP conversation. I mean, last year we had Saquon in the mix too, but like I said, I think Jonathan Taylor would have to just set records every single week.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Any other numbers that Colts fans in general should be interested in? And I do want to ask you this, and this is just something that I think I've noticed, and maybe I'm far from a sharp on this. But, Jason, I think I've noticed that the Bills can't cover anything. Am I right about that? Because every week in my picks, I go with them not covering, and some weeks they still win, but they don't cover. And then, much like we saw on Monday night, they don't cover clearly because they lose. Am I right about that trend with them?
With the Bills, again, it all comes down to not being able to stop the run. And we saw that on Monday against Atlanta. And I actually had Atlanta plus 4.5 as part of my underdogs column, just knowing that they could control the football, gain some big chunks on the ground against the Bills defense that has given up a lot of gains on the ground this year. And now they're in the bye week. We'll see how they kind of fix that. I mean, Josh Allen is still a phenomenal player, and you definitely want to give him the benefit of the doubt anytime he's out there. But they have to fix that defense. And then they had a ton of injuries, and a ton of injuries popping up in that Monday night game. So I think the bye is going to do them well. And this is the 1 year where parity has really shown up. I think it's at an all-time high or at a 15-year high when comparing the Super Bowl odds right now. It seems like every week a favorite goes down and another team moves up, and we've seen kind of like the Eagles, the Lions, the Bills.
Are the Colts in Super Bowl odds? Where are the Colts in the Super Bowl odds right now?
The Super Bowl odds for the Colts right now are still behind a lot of teams. You have the Bills plus 650. You have the Chiefs plus 650, Packers, Lions, Eagles, Rams, Tampa Bay, and then the Colts plus 1,600. They're on par with, say, Tampa Bay, just behind the Rams and just ahead of the Chargers. So not in that first 5 favorites, but definitely in that second tier. Odds makers definitely have to come around, I think, too, because they were such a big such a big surprise, and they had such big odds. A lot of people jumped on the Colts, and there's probably some liability sitting there with Indianapolis as well, too. So they don't want to take any more money on the Colts.
I probably just jinxed the hell out of them too by even asking that question. Are you superstitious in doing this?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. I'm a big don't celebrate until the confetti pops kind of guy. That's my motto on just about everything. And the unfortunate thing is in our business, you're putting out bets and you're putting out predictions, and when you're on a hot streak, you kind of have to talk yourself up a little bit, right? But that can definitely come back and bite you in the butt. So yeah, I try to be as modest as I can.
Info and podcast and more. Jason, tell the folks out there about it.
Yeah, absolutely. You can come to covers.com, 100% free. There's no sign up. There's no subscription, anything. A ton of great information we're coming up to the sports equinox here, right? So we cover it all at covers.com. You can follow me on X, Twitter, at CoversJLo, and then check out the Sharp 600 podcast. There's a new one going to drop tonight. You can get that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It's 600 seconds, 10-minute podcast of high-protein, low-fat NFL betting content.
Well done, brother. I appreciate you. Enjoy that weather up in Canada. We'll do it again soon.
Absolutely, I will.
Jason Logan, Covers.com of the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. On the text line, Jonathan from Anderson said, huge fan of the show. Hope to hear some good odds for the games. Colts came through for me big time. As in all gambling, a little bit of luck. Hey, we go double barrel for you tomorrow, too. Brent Holverson and I think Ryan Miller and Nick Hall. Kent Murphy's going to do the picking coming up tomorrow in the 4 o'clock hour. Kevin Todd's going to join us in the 5 o'clock hour. We got you covered. Jonathan and Anderson and others coming up tomorrow with all of that. Plus, if you join us live at Joe's Grill in Westfield, you know what we do. You know the sampling will be going on. Joe's Grill in Westfield coming up tomorrow. Week 7, Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots, Kevin Bowen, top of the hour, Dan Wetzel after 5. You got to stay right there. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
With JMV.
Well, we're waiting.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
When Schuler's spreadability is something you can find. Gordon's Food Service and your local Meijer. Somebody told me the Meijer in Canby. I think that was James yesterday had mentioned. The Meijer in Canby was struggling with their allotment of the spreadability. Hey, make sure you find it, too. My friend BT Dew was looking for the jalapeno pepper. If you guys are out and about and you see the jalapeno pepper tub of Win Schuler spreadability, man, picture that. Let me know where it is so I can send our friends down there to get it. Win Schuler spreadability, original cheddar, chopped cheddar, bacon and cheddar, and the aforementioned jalapeno pepper. Meijer locations, Gordon Food Service, or hopefully you find it wherever you get your groceries. When Schuler spreadability, JMV, does Daniel Jones qualify for Comeback Player of the Year? I think you have to have an injury or an illness. Kansas City Steve to qualify in that category. That's the text line at 317-239-1070. If you guys would like to go there, you can. You know, it's kind of funny. I think it was Jeremiah and Melissa that brought this up. You should be attending our Halloween party on November the 1st. This is interesting, and thank you for the invite. November the 1st is a JMV takeover night, and the reason why I bring this up is normally we have a JMV takeover Halloween celebration. So if Halloween's on a Friday night and the JMV takeover is on a Saturday night, and I'm assuming we're also talking about your respective Halloween party, do you have it on November the 1st, or does it lose its luster? Do I do the JMV takeover Halloween show on November the 1st, or do I do it the week prior? That's a conundrum.
I don't know. I feel weird.
If conundrum means questionable.
Yes.
Does it? Cool.
I believe you used it
I thought
correctly.
it might.
For me, though, I mean, it feels weird to do Halloween stuff after Halloween's
Can I do
already
the
happened.
Halloween Sammy Terry JMV takeover November the 1st?
To me, it feels weird. It feels like Halloween's already happened, and now you're in November, and it's a whole other thing now. Now
I'm
it's
sure
Thanksgiving.
Jeremiah and Melissa are really thrilled I brought that up with our party on November the 1st. I'm probably going to get uninvited now. No, I kind of wondered about that. I didn't know if I should do it, because normally I do it. I don't know if I do it a week prior, which would be, what the hell would that be? The 24th? Would that be?
That sounds right.
Yeah. So I'd have to know, 23rd maybe? 25th. Hell, I don't know. 25th.
I will say, like,
25th.
If Halloween falls on, like, a Wednesday or something, then it's okay to have it. But if it falls on a Friday, I mean, to me, at least, Fridays are fine to have parties.
So I'll leave this because I want my friends to have a great party. I'll leave this for the JMV takeover. Should I do the Halloween JMV takeover on November the 1st, or I'm assuming here October the 25th? Because they both, to me, seem incredibly awkward.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a long time. Well, I guess we don't. Maybe a week or so to answer that question. So, hey, maybe you should hustle that up on the text line at 317-239-1070. Kevin Bowen's going to join us on the other side. Dan Wetzel's going to join us at the 5 o'clock hour. The Colts that participated in practice, those that didn't. A big weekend coming up for Jonathan Taylor. Ben Shepard back with the Pacers at practice today. The Pacer look so far, and obviously a lot of college football with IU coming up as well. Don't go anywhere. The stream, the app, HD Radio, the AAA membership lounge via YouTube Live and 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
with JMV.
We have the holy hand grenade.
Yes, of course. The holy hand grenade of Antioch.
Right.
1, 2, 5.
Lisa.
3.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, no, this sounds like the seed has been fertilized in this song. Good Lord, I hit the post on that, too. I'm incredible. If any of that stuff mattered, I would be on top of the world of stuff that mattered. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Here we go. Listen, James. When's he start talking about something growing inside you? Did I already miss that? You got the lyrics?
I'm looking through them right now.
Oh, here you go.
Ugh.
Yes! That's my favorite part. That seed inside you, baby. I feel it growing. This is an R-rated version of the show on this Wednesday afternoon after 4 o'clock. And from the morning show with James Boyd and Jeff Rickard, the incredibly awkward appearance from Kevin Bowen, who joins us now. Are you going to be able to go back home after me playing that song? Are you kicked out?
That's probably, I don't know, maybe the 15th, 20th time you've let into a Wednesday appearance with me. And I think that's the first time you've let it play for that long, and making James acknowledge the seed lyric might be the hardest that I've laughed, I must admit.
That seed inside you is growing. That's a hell of a lyric right there.
Honestly, Paul Anka deserves whatever for that, some sort of musical award. Can we get him a Grammy for that? I mean, that's got to be up there with the greatest lyrics of all time. Some say, Marshall Mathers, a great lyricist, Taylor Swift, et cetera, et cetera. How about Paul Anka right there?
I'm going to play the final countdown when you guys are leading right up to it as well from Europe. That's so awesome right there. Yeah, normally we don't let it play that long, but I forgot how weird that lyric is right there for a very popular song of the 1970s. That's Kevin Bowen, who joins us now. Not weird. The secondary continues to be something we observe. Mooney Ward, concussion protocol. Already went through one of those situations earlier this year. That's not good. Missed practice today. We know that. However, Kenny Moore II was back. Anything Shane Steichen said about his presence today that could lead you to believe that all could be good and he would be back on Sunday?
I mean, nothing really Steichen words. He was limited today. It sounded like just kind of individual drills for Kenny. I mean, a couple things, I guess, on the injury. Obviously, it's an Achilles injury, which there's part of me that thinks, hey, given that injury, given maybe even the age of the player, is this an injury that would take 2 weeks to get, fully back to practice, ramped up, et cetera, et cetera? The other thing that I think you have to acknowledge, too, is, this is a guy that did do some field work late last week in practice, so I don't want to act like he's just totally coming out of the blue per se and like, hey, he hasn't done anything from an on-field standpoint. When we were out there, I want to say it was Friday, he was doing just some like lateral stuff. And so, again, I think that was a decent sign that, maybe once he started practice this week, it wouldn't be, totally out of the blue if he played this Sunday. But, it goes without saying where they're at cornerback-wise. And then I think the Chargers probably rank right up there with anybody in the league in terms of, depth at wideout. We'll see if they get Quentin Johnston back. But they're really balanced with Keenan Allen still getting it done and Ladd McConkey as well. So, yeah, cornerback, given who you're playing as well, I think kind of adds to the importance this week.
I completely agree with that, too. Now, would you give more of a nod from what you just described, Herbert and his wide receiving core against a banged-up secondary of the Colts, or just a non-productive against the run defense of the Chargers versus Jonathan Taylor? Where's more of the edge lie, you think, in Week 7 in Southern California Sunday?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would think the Colts would have the bigger advantage. Now, the one caveat I would have is, can your D-line feast upon their injuries at offensive tackle? I saw a couple tweets from Jim Harbaugh's press conference. It doesn't sound like they're getting their offensive tackles, Joe Alt especially, back this week at least. He's not practicing today. So, for those that haven't been keeping track of the Chargers, they played and beat the Miami Dolphins on Sunday down to their 5th and 6th offensive tackle, which is quite amazing. I don't know if I've ever seen a team in that dire of a situation, especially this early in the season. So, when you say, okay, how are the Chargers wideouts going to do against the Colts banged up secondary? Well, if the Colts pass rush could just get home in a decently timely manner, then that could obviously help out the issues that you might have defending those wideouts. But of course, this pass rush in general, especially with how much, you've invested into it, to me has been pretty underwhelming. So again, I think it's Taylor going against that defense, but you're going to need your pass rush to step up. And on paper, they should have just a golden opportunity given where the Chargers are. I mean, if you watch the final drive, everybody I think probably at this point has seen Justin Herbert's incredible play to really win that game. If you watch either of those plays on the final drive, Herbert is under siege. They are in his face right away, and he just makes heroic happen. So, if you're able to get after him, obviously you got to finish those plays, but you should have an opportunity to do that.
I will tell you this. That's why I thought Sunday was so important for them in not their best work and their best moments to get over on a team that at home you should have, to me, more easily gotten over on. But I think we'd be viewing this matchup on Sunday a little bit differently had that game gone the way that at some points for Arizona we thought it may go on Sunday. That's what makes, I think, those close games and the ones that maybe we don't accurately select in our picks from terms of final score, but you still get a win and it still matters the most right there. I think it really is where you give an edge to an experience going to Southern California, because I think we'd be looking at it differently, Kev, if that makes sense to you, had they lost that game in such a disappointing fashion Sunday.
Yeah, if you look at it from a standings point of view, John, I believe right now you have 4 or 5 teams in the AFC at 4-2. Had you lost that game, you'd be with all those teams. So you'd be grouped together with a bunch right now. And then also, I don't want to, I think Sunday's an important game, and I think these are the types of teams you're going to see more of here as you get into the second half of the season. But it's kind of got a little bit of the Week 4 feel with the Rams to me, of like a little bit of house money. Next week you have Tennessee at home. that should be a layup. So, okay, there you're 6-1, and depending on what happens, obviously, on Sunday, maybe you're 6-2. Like 6-2, obviously, is by no means a bad mark through the first half of the season if you get to that standpoint. So, at some point it's going to change. I think I was looking the other day of the final 11 games you have. I want to say 8 of them are against teams at 500 or better, and of the 3 games that are not, 2 of those are Houston, which I don't think we're ready to write off Houston just yet as one of those like bad teams this season. So yeah, honestly, it probably came down to one coin flip of a flag. If Chris Lamons gets called for that, you could be talking about a totally different, record and obviously final score going back to Sunday.
You mentioned house money, and Kevin Bowens on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I would tend to agree with you. I think that, to me, magnifies the Arizona win, and I think it does put an emphasis to me on this L.A. game, because you do have that memory of the last time you were in SoFi and how that thing went down. But when you look at it, you're right. You got Tennessee, but then you're on the road at Pittsburgh. You go to Berlin to get Atlanta, and then you're at the dump in Arrowhead against Kansas City. You mentioned Houston as well after that. And I just think that you're going to start playing those teams where I think you've got to bank and take advantage of opportunities as much as you can. And I think this one on Sunday is interesting because you have Taylor against a bad run defense, and you have this offense versus, I should say their defense that has been struggling up front with the Colts and putting pressure on the quarterback. against an offensive line that is beyond banged up as well. I think that raises a level of importance to me in that game, especially with what is looming on the schedule.
Yeah, I mean, not to go all Vegas line on you, but if you take out the Tennessee game, I'd be willing to guess the rest of the year you probably won't be favored by more than a field goal-ish in some of these games. Now, obviously, if quarterbacks get hurt, you can kind of throw that out the window. But, on Sunday, I think it ended close to a double-digit favorite. And that's the biggest in the Steichen era. The Raiders game was one of the bigger ones. Tennessee, week 3 was a huge favorite for you as well. Those are going to disappear from the schedule. And also, I don't want to say this and discredit what the Colts have done so far, because I think the point differential, the, beat downs they've had in 3 of their, 5 wins, I do think that stuff matters. But unquestionably, the schedule is about to get tougher, and just better quarterbacks are going to be on the schedule, and that would be the assumption of a type of opponent you could see in January. For example, if the Chiefs come back and if they win the AFC West, then this matchup on Sunday flip where the game could be played, but Colts-Chargers could easily be a wild card round matchup, inside of your own building. And by that point, are the Chargers a little bit healthier at offensive tackle, things like that. And of course, they've been there and they have won, playoff games, and you haven't, lately, certainly. So I do think these types of tests are now going to be a little bit more frequent and a little bit more, especially on the road, a little bit different than what you've had through the first 6 weeks.
Hey, I'm really excited. Kevin Bowen from the morning shows on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline right now. I'm really excited because I saw earlier today where Malcolm Brogdon has decided to retire from the NBA and professional basketball. So what kind of video you think the Pacers put together? Will he be dribbling the basketball nonstop until all the air is out of it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll have Mark Dykton send over the Rick Carlisle clip that we love to play so often. It was fun while it lasted, I believe is how Rick described the Tristan Thompson tenure here in Indiana. I know the Malcolm Brogdon tenure lasted a little longer, but at times that's probably how I would summarize it there. So, yeah, he was with the Knicks, right? I'm trying to think who he just joined, didn't he?
Yeah, it was just recently here, but he's decided to step away. Hey, before I'll double back to the Pacers in just a second. I did want to get to Josh Downs' concussion situation. He missed practice today. I just saw this on the report here in the last 10 or so minutes that it's a concussion situation for him, and things get complicated, do they not, with these situations, certainly, as we well know. And that's somebody who had a really good game this past Sunday. You guys had on the show on Monday, and we'll see where this goes, I guess.
Yeah, and he admitted to us on Monday that was quite the hit, he took in the back of the end zone, and he initially said he kind of felt that. And you do see this. You saw with Travaris Ward in week 2 where guys, get to a Monday and they start developing, more symptoms, and then they go into protocol and, more than likely they miss that game. So, yeah, I mean, right now, if you're judging the injury report, I would say Travaris Ward and Josh Downs probably likely out for this game. Sometimes you can play on a Thursday or practice on a Thursday, I should say, and still make it through concussion protocol, just with the nature of, for Mooney, it'd be, 2 in a month for him, concussion-wise, and Downs, developing it after the game. Alec Pierce, I think, maybe had one of those earlier in the year as well. So that's probably what you're looking at. And, it was odd today when they didn't have Ashton Doolin in practice. They actually had A.D. Mitchell returning kicks, which was not something I'm used to. I mean, I don't think he's played a special team snap in his life. So, yeah, they could be going a little bit, into the weeds there at wideout, probably Anthony Gould more than A.D. Mitchell, but I'll be curious. We've yet to see Downs out of the lineup. When he missed last year, I want to say they didn't go to Gould, even though he is kind of the backup slot on the depth chart. So that could, and obviously Tyler Warren's presence helps you greatly. Yeah. And band-aiding that up. So definitely a big storyline because I don't know if the Downs numbers, like just the raw box score, I think tells you how important he is to this team and how much trust that Daniel Jones has, especially in critical downs.
This is nothing against the coaching staff or the decisions offensively that are being made whatsoever. I think it's just kind of more in a propping up of the rookie Tyler Warren. But do you think that there are even more ways where they could utilize him more often and to a higher level of production than they are right now? Because, normally teams start catching up with a rookie like this, but it doesn't seem like that anybody's in the general vicinity of catching up with what he is doing so far.
No, and I definitely think there is more. I mean, if you look at it, Shane has already, I think, wrinkled a lot off of it. I can think of a play, I think it was a Raiders game. If you remember early in the year, they gave Warren that fullback dive, on whatever it was, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. Well, then against the Raiders, a day when Taylor wasn't running it great, they faked that dive to Warren, and then they pitched it out to Taylor. Well, everybody for the Raiders gets kind of sucked in on that, and then boom, you're able to pitch it to Taylor. Next thing you know, nobody's on the perimeter, and he has, I think it was his biggest run of the day. I think we've yet to see a lot of screens to Warren. I would assume at some point you start to see more of that, and then if they want to, they could also start to just implement more run plays with him. Now, maybe it's not something that they want to dabble in too much, and Daniel Jones from a sneak standpoint has been pretty good. But, when you get in some of the 3rd and 2s or even 4th and 2s, do they explore just even having him in the backfield a little bit? Last week you saw kind of the counter that they gave to him. I think more of the run game is probably some areas that they could utilize as well. But, I mean, they still have, involved him in a ton of ways. But knowing Shane Steichen and knowing how obsessed they were with the Penn State film of Warren, I fully expect more of it.
It's Kevin Bowen, the Fan Morning Show. Jeff Ricker, James Boyd, weekday morning, 7 until 10 a.m. And Kev's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. It was really weird watching the Pacers so far this year. And again, I said it yesterday, it's the preseason. I get it. But watching the ball stick as much as it did and watching nobody give two craps about where the bigs are on the perimeter and you can shoot if you want or whatever, and James Wiseman pulling the trigger from distance and it hurting my eyeballs. Those are a couple of different things that I've seen so far in the preseason. It's just kind of weird and awkward to see, I guess, from a team that we witnessed go down the stretch a year ago.
Yeah, I would agree on that. I brought something up today to James and Jeff. Like, we're so used to, in their Carlisle era especially, one of their real superpowers has been their depth and that second unit. And I'm curious if that is still a superpower. Like, the reason why I feel like, I think you and I have been in the same boat. We've both been pretty bullish on them, winning more games than Vegas has pegged for them, is because their second unit, A, plays so hard, and B, has, plenty of talent. Well, and again, the McConnell injury, I think, impacts some things for the first dozen games or so. But, like, what is that second unit going to be? You obviously have questions about the starting center. You probably have questions about the backup. Is Jarris Walker ready to be kind of that lead guy? Is Obi, honestly, your best lineup right now is probably Obi with the starters. And is that something that Rick's going to have to go to? So those are just all questions that I have. And obviously, you look at centers right now, even if you don't want them to shoot threes, like even if you're saying, hey, they're not going to stretch the floor. Well, you sure as hell can't finish games with more fouls than rebounds. And that's all of them. If you combine it up, that's what happened the other night. And, I don't know, maybe
they'd be cussing stuff. Miles for a week if that were to happen.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd get a good chuckle scrolling through your mentions after a game like that. So, yeah, I think there are just a couple different questions that you have. Center, obvious, but even outside of that, depth, maybe even like just overall shooting. Like, if Nembhard is back to regular season Nembhard, I mean, you've lost arguably your two best shooters in that starting lineup. Maybe not even arguably, in Halliburton and Turner. I still think Neesmith's a pretty good shooter, but like, how does that hurt you? We know Matherin can be, streaky a bit from the perimeter. So, yeah, I'm still bullish on them, hitting, that north of 40 mark, but I probably have had a few more questions about it, and definitely Monday night raised a few of those.
To me, part of their elite level skill set is their pace, both ends, and clearly that's going to be compromised, and that's problematic. To me, I mean, I could talk about centers and a lack of shooting. We could get into Miles. I know everybody, including myself, in this offseason, you've been hard on Miles, and you were hard on Miles for struggling in the finals, but they are going to miss him a great deal, especially when they're rim running and guys no longer care, who's going to try to defend them on the interior, even if he's not the same type of shot blocker as he was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But the style of play is so compromised because of what they're going through right now. I'm hoping that they find some guys that are able to do it, because we talk about, Kev, other teams not being able to do it because you don't play that way often. It's easy to say you can and you'll try, but you have to be used to it and able to do it. And few are able to do it, as we witnessed against the Pacers a year ago. And I think that would also include guys now that are coming up and trying to give them minutes where in the past they have not been counted on in that capacity. That's tough.
Yeah, and just can Nembhard be, that guy for 82 nights? I mean, I think we all have grown to love him, but it's just a lot, I think, to put on his plate, whatever his defensive responsibilities are. To be that engine, to play at that pace, and then obviously TJ McConnell, again, going to miss probably whatever the first 10 to 12 games, something like that. Is Cameron Payne ready for that? Those are all questions that you have. So I think we knew you would face some of this stuff, but I do think and again, I don't want to overreact to your point about the preseason, but I do think it's kind of opened your eyes a little bit more to, all right, is this going to be a little bit more of a trying year than, maybe you and I think?
The McConnell thing concerns me immensely because in his 30s, older, that pace of play, and, his elite level skill is that pace of play, and hopefully that's compromised, because I want to see him come back healthy, but I want them to give him as much time as possible, because he is so valuable coming off the bench, because that pace continues, if not at times goes even quicker. And that pace is to me, as equal value as anything you're going to see as to how this team wins games, and has won games and will win games. So hopefully it's not more compromised than it's going to be anyway with injuries.
No, for sure. I mean, there's probably at least a half a dozen times last year before that, where morning after shows, I'd say McConnell changed the game. McConnell did this, McConnell did that. And then you see Game 7 where his role grows, and you can, there's probably a shelf life. There's probably a ceiling with that. So, those are all things that matter with point guard depth being tested.
So Kevin Bowen right there, Fan Morning Show, 7 until 10 a.m., 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. I occasionally would be tuning in. You do a lot of stretching in this chair I'm sitting in right here, don't you? You ever notice yourself stretching?
Why do you say that?
Just think about that the next time you raise your arms above your head and stretch. You do a lot of stretching.
Well, it's better than others.
But you don't pick your nose. You do put your index finger below your nose, and that's okay. But you don't pick it. That's well done.
Man, you are a P1 YouTube watcher here. We need to get you in
I pay attention.
Well, if you could hear some of the noises that Jeff makes after stretching early in the morning, I mean, it sounds as loud as that damn toilet down the hall.
Is he popping and tweaking?
Oh, my. It sounds like he's getting ready for stage 12 of the Tour de France.
That's what happens when you're Greg LeMond sitting next to you like that.
The Huffy doesn't ride itself.
The Huffy doesn't ride itself right there. Here in his banana seat, you have to go somewhere on that bad boy, don't you? All right, buddy. I appreciate it. My best to the family. Tell Brad I said hello to come out. I'm at the Ale Emporium in Castleton on Friday. Tell Brad Bowen I've got some beers waiting on him.
I was going to say, I think he saw you there last year.
He did, yeah.
Not mistaken. So I will certainly let him know.
We'll get him in a good mood.
Love it.
Thanks, brother.
Hi, John. See you.
Kevin Bowen of the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Dan Wetzel. We got IU, Signetti, college football conversation on the inbound coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. You want to stay right there? You should. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Goes on, yeah, and the beat goes on. 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
I don't think that this was on the set list last night. My daughter Laney saw Sir Paul McCartney in Des Moines, Iowa. Yes, it couldn't be because it's a duet with Michael Jackson. I do like this song, though. Crank this up just a little bit. Oh, this is the Michael Jackson part I like. Waiting for you. Yeah, my daughter goes to Des Moines, Iowa. This is pretty interesting to see. And a shout out to Bullseye and Kyle and Scott for helping set that up. Just awesome. Des Moines, Iowa, of all places, to see Paul McCartney last night. And just so happened to be in the same hotel, which I'm assuming is Des Moines, Iowa. It was probably, I like a Hampton Inn, don't get me wrong. I'll stay the hell out of a Hampton Inn, let me tell you. But, and Laney was down getting an orange juice or something in the lobby. And all of a sudden, some people come walking over, and then she walks over, and there's like Paul McCartney walking by. Yeah, JMV. Did Laney get back from well, I thought maybe, but then I get a call today, and I believe Laney is in Minneapolis, so I guess not. I'm always the last to know. Last I checked, too, Minneapolis is not on the way home from Iowa to here, is it? Weird. But a great show, a great moment for her. And if you want to see that video, you can check it out. I've got it up on at JMV 1070 on X, also on Facebook pages, too. It's pretty cool. A really good moment. Big Beatles fan, big Wings fan. Not the Red Wings, but Paul McCartney and Wings. My daughter, and loved it, evidently, last night. In Des Moines, Iowa. And again, bullseyeeventgroup.com. And the Colts VIP tailgate, but Kyle Kinnett, the architect, and Scott, thank you guys very much for being awesome. Great time. Bullseye, by the way, got another pregame party coming up, not this weekend, but the weekend after. You guys are wanting to be a part of that again, and why not? Because it is the absolute best pregame party out there. JMV, receivers all to the left. Warren split right. And we got somebody designing some plays right here. This is Matt and some play design. Isolate him and throw fades or slants. No way a safety stops that. If they double him, someone else has to be open. That's from Matt. Matt's designing plays like it's Super Tecmo Bowl. That sounds like QB Waggle to me, Matt. Thank you. JMV, if we tackle Justin Herbert successfully, we win. We cannot allow Herbert to escape like Brissett and extend the play. That is JC from Austin. Shout out to you, JC from Austin. At JMV, is the JMV takeover going an extra hour on 11/1 since we get an hour back with the time change? That's interesting. I actually went an extra 25 minutes last weekend because I erased half of the log up in B. I don't know if have you ever done that, James? I got up and I didn't know how to recreate it, and I thought, well, hell, I guess I've got to stay here and play live until then.
Thankfully, I have never done that before.
I erased like half of the log all the way until like 12:25. I went, damn! So I just had to play requests up until like 12:25. So yeah, something like that. So yeah, we do get an hour back, right? So Greco, do your show November the 1st. It's Day of the Dead. Play some Latin vibes mixed with spooky music. Yeah, you're right. It is Day of the Dead. It's just weird. I asked this question a little bit earlier. Do I do the JMV takeover Halloween style with Sammy Terry re-entries the week prior to Halloween or on November the 1st? Or do I come in on Friday night, the 31st, and do it while everybody's having their Friday night parties? and then compromised me being able to go to one of those Friday night parties because of that.
But didn't you say you got an invite to a Saturday night party?
I did.
There you go.
Jeremiah and Melissa. We're going to have an outstanding party over there. I'm just going to invite everybody to their party, too. Damn, JMV, taking care of your daughter. Staying at the same hotel where Sir Paul. Well, I mean, it is Des Moines. I don't know what we're talking about here. It may be a Super 8. No, seriously. I'm glad she got to experience that. It's awesome. JMV, we also saw McCartney in Vegas October the 4th, and he was amazing on stage for 3 hours. Never took a break. Hope your daughter found him as entertaining as we did. That's from Kent, and she absolutely did, and the same thing happened last night. I'm trying to raise her right. There's no doubt about that. JMV, I think you have to do your Halloween party on the JMV Takeover the 25th. Don't go past the 31st Halloween deadline. I could do it on a Friday night, but listen, I have not been able to do much on Halloween. So I was thinking, last year, remember we had, actually, I take that back. This show is going to be live on the 31st at Twin Peaks in Greenwood. So maybe there's going to be like a Halloween party there. Remember last year I went as Gordon Gekko, and we were at the depot over in Greenfield because the girls came out too.
Oh,
both, Gina and Lindsay came out. And basically I went as Gordon Gekko is because I didn't have anything to get, so I just threw on some old clothes and some suspenders and I had old clothes and ties because I was making that transition from fat ass to me, and I could do that.
That's who you should go as for
the
Halloween
old
year.
me.
Yeah, Fat JMV.
Fat JMV. I should go as Fat JMV. I still have the clothes. You see that picture that I sent out with me and Hagen and the awesome Dez, the former Pacemate? Oh, there's me right there.
Yeah, there's that one still
I
saved.
could just rock one of these fan gray shirts from the past. Good Lord.
It's wild.
We can see, you guys can't see this right now, but I'm on the right as is, present day, and then I don't know when the left picture was. It's actually, you see the date behind me though, can't you?
Well, no, you can see it's the little ticker thing we have that shows the 93.5 107.5 fan, but it is in this studio. So whenever we moved into this studio, that's at least when it was.
It looks like the fat me on the left ate me on the right here. Did I do that?
It does look like you divided you in half, and that's what's currently here.
So Doyle comes up to me in the press box on Sunday, and he was really cool about it. He said, "Hey, man, are you okay with all this weight loss?" I said, "Yeah, I feel great." So, I mean, there's something to be said about it, too, and that's why I'm so promotional and such a believer in Premier Weight Loss. But even beyond that, when you do that, or if you think about doing Premier Weight Loss, and you should if you want to lose the weight, there is also an angle in which you put the work in too, and you get even more glorious results. It's pretty awesome. Check it out today. And by the way, too, if you, I'm sure I'll be talking about this later on in the show. $99 get you started. Month of October, Premier Weight Loss. If you want to lose that weight. Give me Kenny before we hit a break here. Kenny, thanks for the hold. How are you, brother?
How you doing, John?
I'm great.
I had what I'm going to call a JMV flashback.
Okay, you had a JMV epiphany. I got you.
Yeah. You said your long-term memory is pretty good.
It is.
I got one. The first time I called you, it was 2012. The Colts were going to be playing the Detroit Lions the next week. It was Andrew Luck's rookie year.
Yes.
And I talked to you on a Saturday morning, because you were doing a Saturday morning show on 1070 The Fan.
Right.
And me and you talked for 15 minutes about how Ndamukong Suh kicked Matt Schaub in the tool bag and we just laughed and laughed for about 20 minutes, bro.
Well, hey, listen, I'm sorry. This kind of reverts back to the 12-year-old in me. If somebody gets hit in the bag, I laugh about it. I can't help it. Unless it's me.
Yeah.
I don't laugh about it if it's me. But if it's somebody else, I always laugh. I can't help it.
Yeah. But, yeah, you did a Saturday show for a year, didn't you?
I did, yes.
In 12, I was on there, bro. That's when we started chatting.
I wonder what that was kind of all about. That was the Donnie Avery touchdown catch to win it game, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the last second Andrew
It
Luck
was.
threw it to him in the corner.
Yeah, no time left, and Donnie Avery was the
he just
recipient.
stood there and Luck ran up there and threw him the ball, touchdown.
I remember that. I do have a really good long-term. My short-term's terrible, but my long-term's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, that was an awesome game, man. But
well done. I'm sorry. People are sending me pictures of me old right here. That's pretty funny. I love that. Kenny, man,
Right on,
thanks
bro.
for bringing back that great memory. You're right.
Right on, brother.
And the Donnie Avery game right there. T. Shaw says, will you travel to Des Moines to catch a glimpse of Kelsey from Real Eyes? Is that where Kelsey from Real Eyes lives? I thought years ago she lived in Seoul, South Korea. I think it was like stalker me back then, asking so much. Robert asked this. Robert, this is a hell of a question. I'll tell you what, I've got to take a break. I'm going to come back with this question. Dan Wetzel's at the top of the hour. Dialed in from ESPN on college football. Obviously, the third-ranked Hoosiers. Michigan State coming up this weekend. That's the brass spittoon, I believe. Anybody still have a spittoon? Anybody still utilize a spittoon anywhere, or you just spit? Do you spit when you're out? I can't. I spit.
Yeah, I'll spit.
I do too. Especially this. If you go on a baseball field of any kind, you automatically spit. Automatically. People say, man, why are they? Because you just can't help yourself. Once you get onto a baseball field, you spit.
It's just a natural response. You start producing more saliva, all that good stuff.
Brass spittoon. I believe it's homecoming in Bloomington this weekend, too. Look up the price tags. I'm assuming everything is sold out for some of these hotels in Bloomington. A minimum night stay, that's probably as well. Hey, quick break. We'll come back. I mentioned Dan Wetzel, top of the hour. If you guys want to get on hold, you can, 239-1070. And the text line, 317-239-1070. Road shows Thursday and Friday. If you've not written that in your calendar of events to attend, we'll give you a chance to do that coming up next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
JMV.
Just an average guy with exceptional hair.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
The spreadability of Win Schuler's Meyer locations. Hey, if you find it anyplace else, let me know too. And if you find the jalapeno pepper, Win Schuler's tub, make sure that I know so I can tell BT Do on the east side where to find it. Meyer locations, Gordon Food Service. The spreadability is just genius in snacking for you. Genius in snacking. The spreadability of Win Schuler's. Find it in your favorite grocer's refrigerator. If you do, let us know. Dodgers up 2-0 against the Brewers. Best of 7 NLDS. Just a strong, and they should be because of the payroll and the players and all that crap. And basically, the pitching is overwhelming. But if you let anybody get at you that isn't or is outside of the normal elite level realm they have offensively, you are blanked. Gene Rayburn. And the Brewers, through the first 2 games of this series, have been blanked. Blue Jays try to get up off the mat. They're down 2-0 as they're in Seattle later on tonight. A little bit after 8, Blue Jays and Mariners, ALCS game number 3. Joe's Grill, Westfield tomorrow, Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots. Ale Emporium, Castleton, Bud Light Blue Friday. We know this to be true. Chris Hagan and Joel A. Erickson. I am again acting as bad influence for Joel. Joel is going to show up. And I will play that influential role with Joel coming up on Friday. Can't wait to see you at both locations. By the way, Bobby Jefferson says a JMV Halloween night takeover during high school football sectionals would be badass. Bobby, I'm thinking long and hard about that Friday night. I may have to get with Sean Copeland, maybe switch that up. Would you guys be cool with a change of pace and the switch up on Halloween to do it on Friday? We only do and switch to Friday for very special occasions. I'm going to think about that one, Bobby. Thank you very much. Robert asked this question: who is your indie media starting 5 if this happened with the Pacers coaches? In Boston, their media played Boston's coaching staff. Well, clearly, Robert, I would be in that starting 5, and I would be an advocate of doing that. I'd do it in a second, and I wouldn't be worried about who I'd be matched up against. Because I guarantee you I still play more than the coaching staff does. Guarantee you. Would not feel bad about it. Me, JJ, Eddie Gill wouldn't play.
James Boyd?
Yeah, Boyd would play. Boyd plays with, Boyd would play.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Would any of these TV nerds play? These guys can't play anything, can they? Anybody in TV play?
You might know that better than I would.
Let me think here. And shout out to Hagan. What could Hagan do?
Is he a shooter?
No.
No.
If you want to miss it, yeah. Yeah, that's tough.
That's a good question right there.
Yeah, it is. No, hey, listen though, I would be right on top of that though, Robert. If the Pacers would want to do that, I've asked to come over there and play pickup for a number of years, and I sure as hell want to take some jumpers to ring that bell. If I ever go to a practice, maybe they'll let me. Maybe they'll let know. You were going to make a joke about me ever going to practice, too. That's partly my problem right there. A quick break. We'll come back. Dan Wetzel of ESPN. IU, third-ranked, Kurt Signetti, and the evolution of a football program. With Dan coming up on the other side, plus you and I at 239-1070 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Let me have a Diablo sandwich, a Dr. Pepper. Make it fast. I'm in a damn hurry.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Yeah, I mentioned on the road tomorrow, Joe's Grill, Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots, Joe's Grill, Westfield, Nick Cole, Kent Murphy, where there's no bunting allowed. NLALCS action should be taking place tomorrow as well. Just the ALCS Game 3 later on tonight. I mentioned Ryan Miller tomorrow. Me, Brent Halverson, Heaven Hill Distillery, Joe's Grill in Westfield. Would love to see you. Hey, is there a sweet Goodwill location? I've not been to the one in Westfield before. Is there one up there? Let me know. You don't have to let me know right now when I get to our guest on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. But give me the high sign, James, whenever you find it. But from ESPN, the senior writer, College Game Day podcast, longtime friend of the show, residing, I believe, still in the state of Michigan, Dan Wetzel joins us. Hello, Dan. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
How are things in the state of Michigan?
Beautiful. Weather is beautiful.
Are you near Belleville? Are you near Belleville?
I'm not too far.
I used to have family members that owned a marina on Lake Belleville, or Belleville Lake, or however you say it. True story.
That's where Bryce Underwood attended high school.
Oh, really?
The Michigan quarterback, yeah.
Well,
number one recruit in the country.
I had no
high school
idea.
Football program over there, yeah.
Yes. Well, that's well done right
there.
there.
Here I come on your sports show. I was like, why? We're going to talk about Bryce Underwood, the Michigan starting quarterback? Okay. But no, it is all about you. That's what makes this show so great.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that,
Someone you knew at a marina. All right.
Well, then you know. Well, it's funny. My kid is 19 and just went to Windsor last week.
Uh-oh.
He came back with that Windsor stare, Dan.
I bet he did. The ballet, they call it. The ballet. The Windsor Ballet. A lot of excellent arts over there.
Yes, that's what I gather out of last week and his appearance there. Speaking of the stare, hey, how about the football stare you got going on in Bloomington? And I want you to talk about the evolution of not just the IU football program, but what schools that haven't been maybe powerhouses in football or basketball or whatever in the past, the opportunity that NIL and the transfer portal has opened up for non-traditional powers on the college sports landscape now.
Yeah, it's amazing. The sport, especially football, but really basketball also. It's a lot more interesting. It's fun. I wouldn't call it a transformation at Bloomington. It was just to flip the switch. Yeah. Here we go. Oh, we're good now. Deal with it. Not good, really good. And that was not possible before. Just wasn't. And so Indiana, you look at Texas Tech saying, yeah, we're going to be really good. Your Virginia hadn't been good. They get the right quarterback. Boom, here we go. A lot of them are going to be like last year Syracuse was good, or different teams are going to go rise and fall year to year. You have to do a really good job all the time. You can't just lean on reputations built over 60, 80 years. How much did you put into your program so many years ago? I say, that case full of Dusty Heismans, it doesn't hurt, but it doesn't matter like it used to. And so you can build teams in different ways. You can get good really quickly. You have to really be smarter, and instead of going into seasons where you're like, hey, there's like 3 teams that go win the national title, there's a whole bunch of them that can. And Indiana's one of them. And it's one of the great things about the portal and about NIL. I know these things get horrible reps. Everyone screams, they're the worst. Well, I don't know. I don't know that they are. And I'll say this, it's not even how great a team could be. So, like, you take Penn State, right? Penn State thinks it's their birthright to beat UCLA and beat Northwestern the last 2 weeks. And they literally fired a guy $49 million because he didn't. Now, I'm not excusing those losses. Penn State should have won those games. That said, UCLA was 0-4. They also had a guy, Nico Iamaleava, playing quarterback, who's going to play in the NFL. How many 0-4 football teams in history had a guy who's probably an NFL quarterback. And Northwestern, yeah, that's Northwestern. But you know what? They're 4-2, and they had a kid, their leading receiver in that game who caused so much trouble to Penn State was a transfer in from South Dakota State. They found him, they brought him in, and he's tearing them up. And that kid wouldn't be at Northwestern, 4 years ago. And he gets his shot, and Northwestern gets a shot to find him and do it. So you have all this talent spreading out and all these more opportunities for guys to prove themselves at different spots. So it's not that UCLA and Northwestern are going to win the national title, but the bad teams aren't necessarily bad anymore, and the good teams aren't as good. And so a Penn State can't just sit there and say, well, we never lose to these guys. Well, you might now.
So Dan Wetzel's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I know what all you fans are going to say right now, but I think you were alluding to that with an answer to the question a moment ago. Has the NIL and transfer portal situations, has it made college athletics better? How would you balance this out just in levels of competition? For one, what it has accomplished and what it has done in a flip as a switch, as you mentioned, with the IU football program.
So I think college football has the best regular season, the best season in sports. It has the worst off season, but it has a great season, and it can be. I get that it can be tough feeling. You're like, I don't know who's staying, and my players are going, or like if the roster's in flux, you kind of just got to be like, okay, who we got? Kind of got to wake up in late August and just say, what do we got? And some of that is different, but it allows a place like Indiana to compete. What is Indiana's problem in football? They didn't invest in it for a long time. They didn't have tradition, right? Well, that doesn't matter as much. It's about what your team looks like right now. And nobody understood that better than Curt Cignetti, and that's why he's winning and doing so well. That team that went out Saturday and didn't just defeat Oregon at Oregon, but beat them soundly, is an excellent national title contending team. And in the history of me coming on this radio show, which has been a long time, there is no point would I would have ever said that about Indiana, but they can win the national title. And so that's the player transfer portal that is doing a big part of that. Now, what we had in the past, because this is the other part, we had the coaches transfer portal, right? Everyone's saying, oh, Curt Cignetti has to go to Penn State to win a national title. And in the past, he probably would have. He did have to. You do well at Indiana, if anybody did well, which they never did, but let's say they did, he'd be out of there, and you'd say you got to go to Penn State because that's the only place you can win a national title. Well, now you don't need the coaches transfer portal because you got the player transfer portal. And Curt Cignetti doesn't have to go anywhere. Indiana's not a poverty program. They got money, the same share of the Big Ten revenue. They have plenty of boosters. There's plenty of money around there. Central Indiana's got good players. Yeah, it's not Texas or whatever, but there's more good players in the state of Indiana than were in the past. All the things. He doesn't have to go anywhere. So the player transfer portal, I think, is ending the coaches transfer portal. And I don't think you're going to see Curt Cignetti even blink or look over at Penn State's way at all because he's going to say, what do I got to go there for?
Is there a next step here? Not so much with IU in general, but with college athletics. Is there going to be a different layer of things, or is it going to be like this to you for the foreseeable future, with sports in mind?
What do you mean?
Just in terms of what we know it to be now. It's like we're adjusting to this. It's not the old way anymore. This is like the new way. Will this be the new way and the old way for the foreseeable future, or is there going to be a next level of something that's coming up with all this? And I don't know if it's, if it's just super conferences, if it's what is there another step, I guess, besides where we are, which probably is a bad question, but it's the one that just occurred to me as you were talking.
Anything's possible, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of people trying to push it back to the old days. What you heard for the last 5 years, every time someone was up at Capitol Hill asking for laws or press conferences, media days was university presidents, athletic directors. This is the worst. Oh, this is ruining everything. And what was their early say? If you can pay the players, NIL, Alabama will get all the players. Alabama already had all the players, right? There's a reason Alabama never lost. There was a playoff game once between Alabama and Notre Dame, not the BCS title game, the playoff one they had. Alabama had 22 five-star players on their roster. Notre Dame had 2, and one of them was injured or didn't play, whatever it was. A five-star player, there's about 30 a year. That's like a first-round draft pick. Imagine a football team with 30 first-round draft picks. How are you going to do? Do pretty well with that. I think I'm feeling pretty good about it. That's what it was. So they would say, oh, this is going to be terrible for competitive balance. Alabama will get everyone. That's transfer portal. Alabama will scoop up all the players. Georgia, everyone will go to the top. The exact opposite of what everyone predicted. All the sky is falling, all the crying didn't happen. It's the exact opposite. The talent is spreading out. Not only do you have places like Indiana that can compete now for a national championship very quickly, but like I said, you cannot sleep on an 0-4 UCLA team that looks totally rudderless, because guess what? They still have some guys. In Northwestern, you may sit there and go, it's not, well, you don't know what that was their roster 2 years ago. It isn't what their roster is right now. Everyone's got a shot. So I think as long as we kind of run the course here, what you have is a totally different sport, and same with basketball, where a lot of different teams can win. There's nothing in the way. You don't have to sit there and go, boy, I need to put together 5 great recruiting classes. I need 5 top 6 recruiting classes to get in and win the national title. That used to be the bar, was that's how good you had to recruit for 5 years in a row. That takes years to build up to, right? There's only a few schools that could do that. That's why now, hey, you get the right guy, you get the right coach, all of a sudden kids, look at, like, what kid in the country is it looking in right now? Let's say they want to transfer or they're a high school senior, go, yeah, Indiana looks good. I wouldn't mind playing for that guy. I wouldn't mind playing in that system. And that's what you're going to see. So you can turn things around real quick.
It's so praise on our love and enjoyment, at least most of us, for instant gratification. It absolutely preys on that. And it's another thing. It's almost like with the NFL, well, you know what? You could be awful this year, but hell, you may be a lot better next year. It's like that mentality is now transferred to the college level.
Yeah, it's different, and I like it. I'm 100% for it. I don't feel like anyone should have this birthright that we must be good and we must not. Now, you're stuck in this middle where, again, I'm not going to excuse Penn State losing those games, but I'm not sure anybody's really taking a hardcore look at who they lost to. And the years of like undefeated seasons are really tough. Really hard to go. It always was hard to go undefeated, but like it's just 3-4 losses, you might not be that bad. And you kind of, it's like the NFL. Sometimes you're going to lose. If you can't show up every single week and bring it, you're not going to be, you're not going to win the game. And it's kind of getting closer to that. Now, obviously, there's still a lot of mismatches and things like that, but at that top level. So it's a different mentality. You just kind of got to look at it a different way, but enjoy it. To me, there is more great games. There's more competitive teams. There's more teams that could compete for a national title. There's more teams that can compete just under that and be like, yeah, we're really good. There's more parity, and you're not just sitting there. I mean, how many years in college football it would be the middle of the season, and you go, okay, the SEC is going to come down to Alabama's undefeated Florida. They're going to play in Atlanta in December. Let's just wait for that. Or there's some monumental upset. Or you just sat there and said, well, Michigan and Ohio State are going to play at the end of the year. That's the Big Ten. We don't have that anymore. All sorts of things can happen. All sorts of chaos can happen. It's to me, it's just a more enjoyable sport. I get it. The off season stinks. I get that it can be unnerving. It's different. But to me, the difference is much, much better, and it certainly isn't what everyone's been crying about.
Hey, he is Dan Wetzel of ESPN. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline talking college athletics, and specifically in this case, college football and IU. IU gets Michigan State this weekend. You had referenced that huge win in Eugene, Oregon last week where they played a brand of physical football that I've never, ever seen on both sides an IU football program play, especially against that level of talent. And you think this is a team that is national championship type of worthy right here. What brings this out to you from the angle of Curt Cignetti? What does he do the best in putting together this, cobbling together this team, to having this whole process or blueprint to what you get on the field and what we have seen so far this season? What stands out with Curt Cignetti and this program to you overall else?
I don't know intricately, so I'm not sure exactly the small things, but obviously he identifies talent really well and he motivates his team. I thought last year was a lot of like, and this kind of narrative maybe was wrong or maybe it was right, I don't know, but it was like, hey, I'm the overlooked coach. I got all these overlooked players from James Madison and Old Dominion and Ohio U and all that. I got Canadian quarterback, all this stuff, and we're going to prove we're here. Now there's a different level of guy in there, and I agree that defensive line performance by Indiana was incredible. And the reason I think they can win the national title, and obviously only one team wins, and for all I know, Ohio State's just unstoppable or Miami's unstoppable and whatever. But the reason they are contenders, to me, any team that goes into Eugene, Oregon and wins that soundly, it was 10, but there was a pick six. There was a long, and those are football plays. It's fine, but that was a really solid win, and it's hard to win up there. And then you look and go, okay, yeah, and they blew out Illinois, and they're not that bad, right? Illinois beat USC, and they beat Illinois in a way Ohio State didn't. Ohio State beat them enough. I'm not taking anything from the Buckeyes, but you look at this team and you go, okay, what they've accomplished to me is right there with Miami and what they've accomplished. And, is Ohio State that good? So I just put them in that tier at this point where you say, sure, get over the jersey, get over what we think, and look at the team. And that's my thing. Like, if you go to pro sports, if you just watch anybody can get good, right? You say, hey, Jacksonville's really good all of a sudden. Okay, fine. They're not traditionally good, but you're not saying, hey, their coach has got to leave for the Patriots or their quarterback's got to transfer. Like, no, you can do it right there. And that's a little bit what we're seeing here. So I think when you look at IU, say, hey, this is a real team that can win a national title. Curt Cignetti can win a national title at Indiana. I don't think he's going anywhere. And he certainly doesn't have to go to Penn State to do this. He's built a contender in 2 years. Why not?
It's Dan Wetzel with us. What do you think happens with Pat Kraft and the next head coach at Penn State? Got anything in mind?
I think they either get Matt Rule or Matt Campbell, the Iowa State coach. Matt Rule, the Nebraska coach. I think it probably goes to one of those guys. But, I think I watched Matt Rule talk about it yesterday, and he did a really good job with this press conference, being like, I love it here and all that. But he didn't rule anything out. And I think if you're in a Nebraska, I think there's a different again, you kind of got to wipe out everything you know. Nebraska's a hard job because there's no in-state high school football talent. And the weather's really tough. And there's just, you're out there. Indiana is not as out there. You have access, not only is Bloomington a beautiful town, and not only access to certainly the central Indiana football talent, but all talent, but, Ohio and Michigan and kids from all over Illinois will come to Bloomington, especially if it gets rolling. So, to me in this era, there still helps to be proximity talent. I'd still rather be Texas than something else. Just like if I had a major league job, I'd rather be the Yankees than the Brewers. But guess who's got a better team this year? Brewers. And that's kind of how I look at it.
It's interesting, too. You look at what Curt Cignetti put together, and he brought, 18 of his own dudes there last year. So that cohesion, it didn't take, 5 or 6 weeks to work itself out. It was already ready-made, and I thought that was perfect for the beginning of his tenure in Bloomington. And then you add another quarterback. You're always adding the veteran quarterback. You bring in Mendoza from Cal, where he ran for his life a year ago, and you fortify the offensive line here, and it has been as good as advertised so far this season. And you build on a running game that, in case, is not just one dude, it's a couple of dudes here. And two guys at wideout, certainly with Cooper and what you get with Surratt, that just catch absolutely everything that's thrown near them. And it's just a really good combination offensively to build. And it's almost like you just wind it up and you start running. And that's what they really have done, I think, so far this season. That's the way it's looked offensively.
He's done a great job of finding the perfect players for his system or what he's trying to do, or he designs the system around the players that he's got, which is a skill you really learn when you're coaching things like Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Yeah. You can't sit there and go, I need a 6'4", 230-pound wide receiver. Let's just get one. So he's got like that experience with Nick Saban, but then he's got this, I got to scrap my way up. There's like almost a high school coach mentality. Like whoever shows up at tryouts is what I got. How do I make this work? And I think you're seeing that stuff. And yeah, the veteran quarterbacks are available. They'll move. You know, it wasn't, what year it was. It was maybe 19 or no, it wasn't 19, maybe 2018. Whatever year it was that we had Alabama in the finals in the championship game. And their quarterbacks, they had Jalen Hurts, and then he wasn't doing so well, so they benched him for Tua. And Mac Jones was there too. So they had 3 NFL quarterbacks in a row. And Tua ended up throwing to a reserve wide receiver named Devonta Smith, who's a freshman, when he could have sent it to, I think, Ruggs and it doesn't matter. The number of players on that team that were just trying to get on the field.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist anymore. You're not getting all those guys to sit around because you're like, okay, you know, like you can't get 3 NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah, they're going to leave after the 3rd week if they sit around.
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
You only got 4 years, so you sit there and say, all right, I'm out. And that's fine. And but those types of teams that used to be college football that people are pining for the good old days, like how is that good for anyone else? I want to see these guys play. Give everybody a shot. Hey, they spread out. Good. Let's do it. And then the Alabamas aren't as good, and everyone else has got a chance. And you don't know because it's funny, right? Tua took Jalen Hurts' job down there, but in the end, Jalen was better. You know, now he went to Oklahoma. He did transfer, but not for another year. Now he would have been gone. So it's just Cignetti, I think, understands that. I think, you know, there's people that are trying to do it, and then there's people that are committed to it. It's kind of like old school recruiting, right? If you were a recruiter in, let's say, any of basketball, football, and you loved it, right? You worked recruiting. You were better at getting a guy or finding a guy than if you're just sort of disinterested. Anybody can sign some kids out of the portal, but did you find that gem? Did you find the guy that perfectly fits? And my sense is Cignetti is and his staff are 100% fired up about this and fully committed to it, and they're doing a better job in the portal than most because of it.
Is everybody in Ann Arbor happy with my good friend Dusty May with the basketball program?
Well, yeah, they got, you know, they haven't lost this year, and everyone thinks they're going to win the national title. So, yeah, no. Well, first of all, how do you not like Dusty?
No, correct.
Possible not to like, and yeah, he's got on paper a tremendous team this year. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's impossible not to like dudes from Greene County, Indiana, and Eastern Greene, just
place,
like us.
It's the water. It's the water.
Hey, man, good to talk with you. We'll do it again over the course of the football season, but it's always a pleasure, Dan, to have you on. Thanks.
Oh, thanks for having me on again. Take care.
It's Dan Wetzel, ESPN, senior writer, College Game Day podcast, and more. A podcast, 1075thefan.com. I'll come back with your calls on the other side, too. And the text line at 317-239-1070. Road shows Thursday and Friday, we shall explain. Plus, in the next 15, your Harrah's Hoosier Park race of the day, 50 in betting, 50 in dining. And, by the way, shout out to J-Law, who said 3 Westfield Goodwill locations. There you go. On the road in Westfield tomorrow. I shall explain on the other side. Do not go anywhere. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
With JMV.
I fart in your general direction. Your mother was a hamster, and your father smelled of elderberries.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Dan Wetzel, the podcast at 107.5thefan.com, 1984, James. Well done right here. Johnny Marr and Morrissey and the Smiths, everybody. You guys are trying to talk me into the Friday Halloween edition of the JMV Takeover. I don't mind it. I do know on Halloween that this show is going to be on a Bud Light Blue Friday at Twin Peaks in Greenwood. That would be one, if I were you, I would also make. Really, you should be attending all of these shows with us, because on Thursday, you know what goes on with the samples and the hanging out, like tomorrow at Joe's Grill in Westfield, and our picks. But on Friday, Bud Light Blue Friday, your chance to win Colts tickets. Titans tickets we give away at the Ale Emporium coming up on Friday, the Ale Emporium in Castleton. Hagen Joel A. Erickson as I play the role of Rob Lowe and Bad Influence again. I'm excited about that. That's coming up on Friday, Ale Emporium in Castleton. But now we were talking about having, somebody had brought up the Halloween party. I think it was Jeremiah and Melissa having a Halloween party on November the 1st. And I was thinking about this in terms of the JMV Takeover. Do I have my special Halloween edition the week prior to, or have it on November the 1st, or just crap can it all together? Jeremiah Johnson of Pacers TV chimes in with the starting five against the Pacers staff if they were ever able to do it, and they won't. Denary, Gill, Bowen, Boyd, JMV. And then Bob Kravitz asked if there's a line. Well, I'm going to get mine. I flat guarantee. I don't care if Pargo's guard me, or I don't care who over there guards me. Doesn't matter. JMV, you're 55 and too old. What do you think you're going to get? Because I'm going to get mine. I don't know what the early line would be, but yeah, Pargo's pretty good, though. I will say that. I'm sure they all are. That would be exceptional to be around ball as much as that group is around ball, though. Truth be told. As much as I love it, that would be absolutely outstanding. Now, the reason why that was brought up is because they did this evidently in Boston. Celtics coaches versus the Celtics media. And it looks like the Celtics coaches beat the media 57-4. 57-4. There's zero way I'm on a team that's getting beat 57-4. I guarantee you that.
Well, if it's you and then if y'all have Eddie Gill on the team, you should definitely score more than that.
I can't get him out.
Really?
He won't do it. Well, neither would Chad Buchanan, though. I've offered to go to pick up Chad and take him more week, and he won't do it. Eddie Gill won't do it. I mentioned it yesterday. But no. As a former player, I wonder if he would be in the mix, though, would Eddie? I mean, he was a former NBA player. I don't know if he'd be in the mix.
I mean, he is part of the Pacers media, technically.
57-4. Yeah, this is it's unfortunate watching that. I don't know what they're doing. Are they in zone or just kind of standing around?
Is there video of it?
There's just one. Whoever referenced this on X, there's like one video, and it's like a final shot. It's a 3-point make that's deep. Taylor Snow, at Taylor Snow, Taylor C. Snow. Celtics coaches versus the Celtics media. And it says, wait for the final score. And then JJ referenced this, never seen this before. Shout out to the Celtics. Reminds me of the IU basketball media tournament. And he brought in Kevin Bowen and Dustin DePurak. Evidently, I didn't play in that. I think Tony East wants him, but yeah, Denary, Gill, Bowen, and JJ can play too. JJ, we used to play media basketball all the time at Hinkle Fieldhouse at Butler on Tuesdays back in the day. We no longer do that, but that was a good time. That's where I tell the story about Philip B. Wilson getting mad because nobody was giving him an entry pass because he was posting up and open, and he took his glasses and threw it against the basket in disgust. Cignetti will not go to Penn State. I would, and I know this comes from an angle where around it all the time and everybody's living in the moment, and you should for IU football, but I would say that he looks pretty damn comfortable where he is right now. However, what if they offer more money? I would just say this. You can never say never, but it seems like things are going pretty damn well right now. And I could find 1,000 different ways and means to compare, central Pennsylvania out in the wilderness to Bloomington. And yeah, listen, I'm from around Bloomington. I love it. Always have and always will. So it's not a fair discussion to have. I can sit here and tell you right now, you got things going so well. Why not? And that's why you talk to Dan Wetzel and the whole evolution of NIL and the transfer portal that it has brought, in particular in this case, to college football. It has made it more interesting. And it's been, especially for me, like the generation kicking and screaming the old school ways, and this has made it more entertaining. And it's not, as Dan talked about, just the old guard that is benefiting from being the old guard. The historically great college football institutions, a lot of this has been turned, now you're kind of forced to, you even out the playing field at that level. Now with the mid-majors, that's a completely different story. As a fan of Indiana State, I know that to be true in basketball. But let's just face it, that's always been kind of a grudge match anyway, and it's even more so that now. I said this about Indiana State, and I hope that Matthew Graves has an outstanding, surprisingly outstanding season this year, but you're probably going to be, and this is the way Indiana State has been over the years anyway. You're going to have one season, maybe out, I hate to say it, 5 or 6, where everybody's going to be real excited and things are going well, and then some other seasons, well, that's how it's going to be. Until you find your own niche, if there is a niche to be found. But in terms of football, and especially because we are so surrounded by this IU football program and their storylines right now, hell, nobody going to tell you around here that it's not more interesting. Nobody. Because that is absolutely the truth. Now, there's never been an even playing field. And there's never going to be. But you take advantage of ways you can take advantage of things, and that's certainly what they are doing in Bloomington, and most are doing with NIL and transfer portal right now. And can you blame them? No. You can't. JMV, why would Cignetti be offering Penn State transfers if he had an ounce of interest in Penn State? What? I don't think he's going anywhere. But I'm from around here. Why would I think he would go anyplace else? IU's perfect for Cignetti and his family. IU will match what Penn State would pay. IU's got cash. It's like that line in Boogie Nights when the Colonel, remember the Colonel and Burt Reynolds, the director? when Burt Reynolds is explaining the whole filmmaking process in Boogie Nights to Dirk Diggler. And he says, you see, the Colonel puts up all the money for our films. It's a very important part of the process. You have a lot of money if you're IU. That's a very important part of the process in college athletics. All right, quick break. We'll come back. The Harris-Hoosier Park race of the day right now on the inbound. I'm glad I could quote Boogie Nights at the end of this show. Thank you for the Colonel. The other one was, hey, I heard you had a great big...
About to make me start diving for the dump button
No, don't worry
there.
about it. I wasn't going to go there. The Colonel, and he's no longer with us, the actor, but the Colonel, that was quite a character in Boogie Nights. You see, the Colonel puts up all the money to make our films. That's a very important part of the process. 50 in betting, 50 in dining, Harris-Hoosier Park Racing and Casino. That is in Anderson. You guys ready to go? You have your horse, of course. Here it is, your Harris-Hoosier Park race of the day.
JMV.
If peeing your pants is cool, consider me Miles Davis.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
No, crank it up. I am Brock Landers, James. That means you're Chess Rockwell. Great re-entry. Harris Hoosier Park race of the day, 50 in betting, 50 in dining. From Brian White. Swan Jaden was the winning horse. $4.60 on a $2 bet. The $2 exacta was $14.20. 50-cent trifecta. $12.40. My friends, there it is. Your Harris Hoosier Park race of the day. We do it Tuesday through Friday right here. 5 o'clock hour. Before we start the show, we put out a list of horses. You select the horse, and if you win, you can win 50 in betting, 50 in dining, courtesy of Harris Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. Tony Renz has put this together. It is a fantastic feature on this show. Tuesday through Friday at JMV 1070 on X is where you find with ease the horses. That's your Harris Hoosier Park race of the day. We shall do it again tomorrow. JMV, for posterity's sake, could you please have the decency to finish your cinematic quotes? Come on. Yeah, I couldn't finish that one from the Colonel. I can do some more for you if you guys want, though. That was good. I think one of the more underrated characters who was only in there for a short period of time in the film Boogie Nights was the Colonel's chauffeur, Johnny. Johnny was very take charge. Johnny the chauffeur. Back door, Johnny. Love Colonel. Oh, do you think so, Doctor? It's from Justin. If Signetti wins a title, he doesn't leave. If he's one and done in the playoffs, he's gone. I don't know. I'd have to see a little bit more hardcore evidence as to why. Then obviously finances can bring that to light. But yeah, as of right now, I think I'm with everybody else. Why would you jack with it? Oh, here's one reason why. A lot more money if that is the case. Otherwise, not so much. But that is coming from an entirely Central Indiana IU fan base listening type of thing. And what he's accomplished here. And then also understanding that you've got a different landscape altogether. This is not just a stroke of luck or good fortune. This is a real damn thing. Jesus Jones would have said real. It's real. No luck. It's just not a fortunate bounce or crap like that. It's a real thing. My man Seltzer says, JMV, even if you had Kyle Ford on the team. Shout out to Kyle Ford. I'm actually going to go over there and play, I think, later on tonight. A lot of the old guard are no longer playing, like Tommy Highsocks. These are Wednesday night games at Greenwood Christian. And there used to be an old guard there. Mark Munger, Dan, Tommy Highsocks. He and his stereophonic sound. And his left-handed, occasionally running down the court attitude. And Seltzer, who has long since retired. Yo, JMV told me to email you about Bullseye. Yeah. JMV at 1075thefan.com. There's no Bullseye this week because clearly they're on the road. And they do not have, like they did with the Rams outside of SoFi Stadium, a pre-game party out there for the Chargers. I know a lot of people are going, though. But we'll be back at the BullseyeEventGroup.com Colts VIP tailgate. That is coming up on Week 8, leading up to the Titans. That is for sure right there. So we shall absolutely let you know on that. JMV, did you really send your daughter to Des Moines to see Paul McCartney? Yes. She just sent me a picture of a Cub food grocery store. That used to be around here. It used to be prolifically around central Indiana. Cub Foods. You ever heard of it, James?
I have not, no. Phrasing it, though, like you sent her as if
I sent
her like on a punishment or something.
Go to your room.
Go see Paul McCartney in Iowa.
See him in the lobby of the hotel. There he is.
Think about what you've done.
Pretty classic right there. Yes. And then get back here at some point. Hey, speaking of some point, tomorrow's show, Joe's Grill, we're going to be in Westfield. Cannot wait for that. Larceny Bourbon Locks. Luna Azul Tequila Shots, Week 7. I have not looked, but if I'm at 500 this week for my Week 6 picks, I'll be happy because I don't think things were going well. And I was talking to Kevin Todd, who's going to be on the show tomorrow as well, with some of his picks. I started out really well on Thursday Night Football, but the last 2 weeks have not been my greatest moments. But I am still standing firm in being good so far this year. Unfortunately, with my picks, as far as the Colts are concerned, that's one thing, but they didn't cover the spread last week. And I think I had the Commanders and the Bears. And I kind of thought, all right, am I going to go Commanders or Bears? And I've ridden pretty hard the Patriots. I've ridden the Patriots hard in a positive, and then I've also ridden the Bills pretty hard because the Bills cover nothing. The Bills work fantastically for me. The Patriots have worked fantastically for me. But unfortunately, for the fan picks on our website, I decided to go with the Commanders and the Bears, and that one didn't work out. That's too bad. We'll try it again coming up tomorrow. Me, Brent Halverson, and Heaven Hill Distillery, our Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots coming up tomorrow. Bud Light Blue Friday's got Titans and Colts tickets. That is coming up on Friday. That is the Ale Emporium. Ale Emporium in Castleton coming up on Friday, too. All right, Win Schuler's Spreadability. Win Schuler's, you got original sharp cheddar bacon and cheddar and jalapeno pepper. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, our good friend BT Do, if you locate the Spreadability with jalapeno pepper, let us know where it is because he's on the lookout for it right now. I know you can find the Spreadability of Win Schuler's at Meyer here in Central Indiana and Gordon Food Service. Any place else, you let us know because it's here. 2025 football season or otherwise, your snacking is the Spreadability of Win Schuler's. You got one Major League Baseball game later on tonight as the Blue Jays try to get back on track. They're down 0-2 in their best of 7 ALCS in Seattle, so they lose both games at home, much like Milwaukee in the NLCS lost both of their first 2 games at home. That goes back to Chavez Ravine coming up tomorrow. Blue Jays and Mariners at T-Mobile Park coming up later on tonight. 8:08 is that scheduled first pitch. Bieber v. Kirby is the pitching matchup. And simply put, Seattle had survived anyway. But since that 15-game epic decisive Game 7 in these first 2 games against the high-scoring Toronto Blue Jays, Seattle has been epically good, pitching especially. I think the Blue Jays were averaging, about 9 runs a game versus the Yankees in the divisional round, and they have been shut down by the Mariners so far, and everybody thought that the Mariners pitching staff was going to be gassed in that 15-inning marathon that they had against Detroit, and they have not looked that part whatsoever. Fantastically. Up 2-0. Mariners, Blue Jays, Game 3 coming up later on tonight. At 8:08, give you an update on that game coming up on tomorrow's show. So you should have a double dip tomorrow, right? I'm assuming. Yeah, you'll have Brewers and Dodgers Game 3 from L.A. tomorrow at 6:08. Blue Jays and Mariners Game 4 at 8:33. And you combine that with Thursday Night Football. What the hell? We'll see you tomorrow. Joe's Grill. We're going to be in Westfield. Me, Brent Halverson, Ryan Miller, and our good friend Nick Call is going to make selections for Week 7 tomorrow. Hopefully I'll see you there. We're going to have the samples that are flowing, the great food, and the entertainment value that is Joe's Grill in Westfield. See you there coming up tomorrow. We start the show at 3. Somebody from the Colts will join me on tomorrow's show as well. It's going to be loaded up and good to go tomorrow. Can't wait to see you. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Have a great night.